Hey, friendly greetings, it's Torley, and let me just turn this up here. Aha! This is kind of funny because I control the lighting on, well, it's my monitors. I have fairly large monitors, so as I move it up and down, you see it gets very bright like that. Because I have windows full of white mess, and just by dragging them it's very funny. But of course I also have colored lighting now. Anyway, what I want to speak about in this pseudo quasi hemi demi semi rant is the innocence of dance music. Well, not just using it as a state, a source within itself, but of course the departure, the destination of where we're all going here. I was recollecting my thoughts and was reminded of a recent Josh Wink album titled When a Banana Was Just a Banana, and by that he alludes to when, say, people, they just listen to music, specifically in this case more dance music, not just limiting themselves to it, but you blend in the funk, the soul, the house, the electronic rhythms and all that, and if you like it, you like it. Now that's a philosophy I live by and love by. If you like it, you like it. It's kind of like I listen to a pop song. I don't have any guilty pleasures because if I like it like that. I don't have any psychological weaknesses that impound and encrust my brain, although it does take practice to move out of what I call that low mind trapping. It traps you in the lower parts of your potential when you can climb so high, and this isn't some space-agey, newgy sort of thing. This is just human psychology, things that mentalists would expose, social engineering, all that sort of fascinating stuff. And so there's a new album by Subfocus out. It sounds wonderful. He gets into electro house. See how I use air quotes with those styles. He does some dubstep. Now, I do agree that these terms, just like shades of color, you have to know what not just red is, but different shades of red. But when you're making a painting, you want to have contrast and compare, even if it's a few limited shades. Art often stands out so much when you have that contrast. And so it is with electronic music. I think it's an utmostly stupid, a foolish, a useless thing whenever there are these fake divisions. They are put up, as some people have well said to me, they are cultural divisions. They are more a mindset than what actually is happening. If you remove those human weaknesses from the process, what you end up with is different kinds of music. For instance, one of my favorite things is that, well, drum and bass, a lot of the jungleistic breakbeats, if you slow them down halftime, they sound just like hip-hop beats. And of course, a lot of the historical samples, they come from the same source. They're syncopated the same way. It's playing with space-time manipulation. If you cannot perceive that, then of course you run into problems figuring out the connections, but they're so closely related. And similarly, though this is rare, I like listening to when there are straight four on the floor tracks that converse and converge into breakbeat. And it's funny because some music mags, some reviews will make such a hyperbolic deal out of this. It's incredible how they make it seem like it's worlds away. I suppose part of that is marketing, but really you just shuffle some beats, you move this back an eighth note here, and you go from, boom, to just boom, and then you just change the bassline sound, or you leave it the same, because then what you can just claim is, hey, I invented a new style of music. And so those are things that concern me, because I don't like techno snob views. I think they are limited. I call it tunnel hearing, so to speak. I need a catchy term for everything, because that techno snobbery is parallel. It's like the future music equivalent of classical snobbery, where you judge people not based on what they like, but what you think they should like, even though your own preconceptions have been quite severely limited in themselves. And that's really, really disappointing. I think that sucks is the word. So when I listen to music, I love listening to all kinds, from Muzak to Zydeco to a cappella, all electronic music styles. I like music that blends melody, very fluid, very emotional, very memorable, catchy melody with more advanced songwriting, like esoteric production techniques, because then you get both of that. That's why I like certain music so much. Like I mentioned Subfocus. It's great because he does drum and bass, but it's very catchy for the dance floor and for the time. There's a lot of radio-friendly tracks that he does, like X-Ray, like Juno. A lot of them have great melodies and tunes, and that's why I like some of the Deadmau5 productions too. It's got a great melody. It's just very solid, and I like that one version of Ghost and Stuff where he has someone, and if you've heard this, you know it, where he has someone basically they sound like they're a message board hater, like I'm gonna do my drugs and I am not on Beatport. And that's really funny because that's how true it is. You get these haters on message boards. You get people who are not making music, and if they don't make music, then they don't have music in them. That's what you gotta let out. That's why we have to flow, why we have to share ideas like that, and why a lot of the influence is gonna come from mixing those sorts of things. I, in fact, do believe it is a sort of musical racism. If you are going to segregate, does this sound familiar? Music in parallels like that. It's not a far stretch from that, because a lot of music, like I said, there is a cultural basis to it, and a lot of the best music, which I love, comes from different world influences, how we can learn from that diversity, how we can concentrate and put all this focus into one track, and the next one we can experiment. Ooh, it's getting red there. We can try some different ideas, but overall I think that it is quite a sonic supremacist. Now there's a term. If you're going to isolate based on these labels, these styles, to say something is pure, because when you look at music, although there are individual elements that may be pure like a sine wave, there is never ever a single solitary source that it comes from. It comes from what came from before. If you think we owe things to the classical composers, they owe things to the Renaissance and the medieval, and to the people who are in their caves in some parallel timeline. Launch us back with a time machine, who were banging on their jawbones and making the world's first flutes and evolving past there. And that is the largeness, the beauty of it. People can argue about this sort of thing, but that's not making music either. It's just a bunch of word wars. I think the real test, if you want to talk about something clean, simple, and true, or sometimes dirty, because you got dirty beats, y'all, but is you have the piece of music and you put it out in the world, you see how it affects people. They feel in love, they think it's a great love song, they move their booties to it. It has a positive, profound, even healing effect, an energetic effect, helps them to work better. And that's the power of music. We can discuss, we can talk about it, but it's just like talking about the stars without achieving space travel ourselves. Things can be structures, things can be led into context and commentary to enrich that social cultural palette, but there is no substitute, absolutely none, for the music itself. And I just kind of lispied there. That's kind of funny. So I'm looking at this picture, which you can't see, of, if you Google it, when a banana was a banana, and I think back to that, some of my favorite stuff. It's funny because the Sub Focus album does touch on that too, some of those early 90s jungle influences, when people were experimenting with their Akai S100s, 1000s rather, and people were just trying time stretch, people were speeding beats up on those primitive samplers, and now we have so many more potentials. There is a danger of paralysis, of freezing, of thinking, my gosh, with all these software synths, what am I gonna do? And I think it was it George Harrison? I badly paraphrase, and he said something about, I'm not even going to paraphrase, but he said something about just limiting your choices sometimes and then moving forth with that. But of course, that is not contradictory with having a large palette to work from, because you know what your options are, you know what the good tool is at a given time. But it doesn't mean you're going to work with everything all the time. You make your choices. Just like at a buffet, you're going to pick what you like and you're going to go back for more. And that buffet and the banana kind of wraps around and seals the entire analogy. So parting words if you made it here. And if you feel strongly about this, please, hey, do let me know. It's an opinion which will lead into action, because I'm going to be making more tunes for my dream journal. It's really, really exciting with the things that I conjure and want to cook up into a sonic state, a shared manifestation of reality, sonic reality, oral atmosphere that you can hear, these environments and tapestries that come to me. Do let me know. You can give me a video response too. I enjoy those. And of course, if you disagree, you can let me know too. But be prepared to back that up with music and show me what you have to express as well. Things gotta be useful and fun, as I like to say. And I felt a vibe of Michio Kaku, the great physicist, coming on, because he's a guy I really marvel at, looking at popularizing esoteric and really high mind concepts in a way that a lot of people can enjoy. And that's something I really relate strongly to. So we've reached the end of this journey totally out for now, and thank you graciously for watching. Remember, watch out, techno snobs, and to all those of you who are exploring new kinds of music, who are finding pleasure for yourselves, keep doing that. Don't succumb to stupid ass peer pressure saying you can't listen to a song just because you like it. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. In fact, it's bullshit.